Loud for everyone? Loud enough for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So listening is a very important thing for us to be taking into consideration. And I think that there's so much need for different types of healings, and people just want to speak out their heart in these times. And it seems like we're going through a second cycle of a lot of the same energy that we experienced in the early stages of this phenomena called COVID-19. And also the entire world that we together and independently have created around it. And so we're going to explore that, but we're going to use this capacity to listen, compassionate listening, a deep listening that can help relieve the suffering of another person. You listen with only one purpose, to help him or her to empty their heart. And that has become so important because people have so much within them, so much that they need to release in order to become light. And we're going to explore what that means. Lightness, as opposed to heavy, from many different perspectives. Does everybody understand or has any questions about compassionate listening?
Yes.
Has anybody practiced this in the past?
No.
No.
Yeah, so it's very, very, it brings so much benefit to the people that practice it, because what it does, it allows you to relax, it allows you to pay attention, and more importantly, it allows you to speak your heart. And a lot of times that's all we need. That's all we're looking for somebody to listen, not even comment. It's just somebody to listen, to accept that whatever is happening for me, in the way that I'm thinking, in the way that I'm feeling, in the way that I'm choosing to be, is being accepted. And that's what this listening is about, acceptance. I accept you just the way you are creating yourself. And so in that sense, it's not only acceptance, it's also respect. So it's these wonderful qualities that we're all capable of in sharing with one another in order to create healing. Healing on the individual level, but then also collectively as a field of energy, collectively as the planet also, to heal the planet as we practice these simple ways of being. So I wanted to take the opportunity to begin. I want to, just within the past 24 hours of your day, 24 hours have passed. And during this time, I want you to ask yourself all of these questions. I'm going to give you about a minute to go through this. So don't think about it too much. Just respond to it very naturally. And don't spend too much time thinking. Just allow whatever shows up to show up. And it's a simple yes or no answer. You don't have, it's not a maybe, it's just yes or no. And I want you to write, just check off, if you have a piece of paper, or mentally, if you don't have a piece of paper and a pencil, mentally, just go down the list. During the past 24 hours, did I experience any of this? Yes or no? Do I feel good about the way I am being? Yes or no? Am I experiencing fear? Yes or no? Am I taking responsibility for my part in the situation, whatever the situation is? Yes or no? Am I experiencing anger? Am I capable of listening to myself and to others? Am I taking it personally? Maybe words, somebody's attitude, somebody's actions. Am I taking it personally? Is my issue in or out of my control? Am I struggling with something that is not within me to change? Am I judging or blaming? Is my thinking negative? Am I responding or reacting? Am I resisting? Am I defending myself? Do I feel attacked? Do you have expectations of the other, of the whatever? Do you want to control others or the situation? Are you complaining? Are you needing something from the other? Do you feel like you don't have something, therefore you want it from the other? Many of you actually said no to all of the questions. So within the 24 hours, you never experience having the feeling or in that state of thought of no to all of the questions that I posed that are in front of you. Anyone? I think that it's very difficult to be in that state of not feeling one or another of these states of being, because the times are so challenging. So it takes a lot of inner power to be able to confront the day, the minutes, in a way that makes us feel good and also keeps us stabilized within ourselves. And I think that what we're going to be doing in this experiment is we're going to be contemplating methods, techniques, but also creating a foundation so that it becomes super easy for you to anchor yourself into something that actually you're able to return to every single time that you feel out of yourself. Where if you ask any of these questions and it says no or yes, where you're answering yes to any of these questions, you're going to be able to go back and stabilize yourself immediately. So it takes seconds. So it's shifting your thinking, your feeling, and your action in literally a second. And that's all it takes when you understand the dynamics of who you are, who you want to be, and also what's there as a foundation to actually support your choice. So that's what we're going to be exploring. How can we go beyond these states? How can we go beyond these ways of thinking? And also we're going to explore the cause, and also how can we actually heal this process? So all of us have many things in common, but what happens is that through life, we begin to create a sense of you and I. We begin to separate from one another in a sense of, we begin to create sense of division, of separation a lot of times. And so we begin also to pose the question of, who am I? What am I? It's an interesting question. I mean, most of us are thinking about who am I, but there's also a very important question of what am I? And there's many ways of perceiving that. That's many ways of going about answering this. And through life, there's different stages of our development. And what has happened is that the natural development of us as beings has been sort of, we haven't been given the space to develop our personality in a way that is healthy and beneficial, not only for us, but also for our world. And very connected to this physical body. And that becomes the focus. Not only does the physical body become the focus in life, and the focus in terms of keeping it healthy, well, but it also becomes a sense of our identity. So we begin to identify, we begin to really have really close connection to the dynamics of the physical body. So we begin to also connect to the aspect of age, aging, time. And we begin to create internally based on where we come from, the people around us, the times, our education. All these things begin to create worlds within us. In many areas of our lives, we're either doing really, really well, and in other areas, we feel like there's so much work to be done. You have a beginning and you have an end, it seems. Is it a beginning and is it an end? Is there something beyond this?
There is something beyond.
What was that?
There is something beyond that. The physical body is gone, but the soul carries on.
Yeah, so that's a belief system, right? So we all have all these different ideas that govern our thinking, our process of being, our personality. So we end up carrying all these masks. So one of the very important questions for us to ask ourselves is, what masks do I wear? We even wear masks sometimes in order to confront ourselves. What mask am I wearing when I face myself? What personality have I created that actually helps me identify with myself? What have I created through time that identifies me? What mask am I wearing when I am with a loved one, with a family member? What role am I playing? The child, the mother, the father, the grandchild, the grandfather, the cousin. And at work, what am I? And how does that mask actually create in my sense of value? My own sense of joy, my own sense of happiness, my own sense of stability. What masks do you wear? Anyone? What masks do you wear? Another way of looking at the mask, when I was in New York and going to the Stella Adler Conservatory, we used to do a lot of mask work. And the reason why we were training with mask work is because when you put on a mask, it becomes really easy to go outside of what you perceive as yourself. When you put on a mask, you give yourself the license to actually become whatever you choose. Whatever that mask tells you to do, that's what you become. So understanding that when you are wearing masks, or when we are wearing masks, we are giving ourselves permission to be something beyond what we are or what we believe we are on any level. And society right now is full of masks. Lots of things are going on. People wear a mask all the time. One of the reasons why I choose to do these sessions in terms of not actually creating or being on camera is because I think it's really important for us to just experience each other from a different dimension, from a non-visual dimension. Because a lot of this information, this visual information informs us, and a lot of times we're not even, we're not aware, we're unconscious about how things are causing upon us, either limiting us or expanding our possibility. And sometimes we're very unaware about that. Does anybody want to share anything, their experience of sometimes how they've noticed that their behavior, their different masks that they wear, how different they become Are you the same person when you are wearing the mask of a mother as you are wearing the mask of a sister? Are you wearing the same mask when you are at work as you would when you're at home as a father or a mother?
No.
Or are you becoming something different?
Definitely different.
Yeah. So understanding that we become different people at different times under different situations is very important, because that's the first step to understanding that that's why we get confused, especially in times of chaos. What mask should I be wearing at this moment? What personality should I take on? And these are all questions that are very important for us to ask, because if we keep changing masks, we go deeper and deeper into instability. So we have to, one of the benefits of actually beginning the journey towards finding yourself, in a sense, is that you get to the original thing. And we're gonna journey into these types of questions today. So I want you to just contemplate, look at this, and I want you to just allow your imagination to just, we're talking about masks, we're talking about how do things influence us. And visual information is very, very powerful, because even though we're not conscious of it, it begins to create. It begins to bring out memories. It stimulates the way, the mental process, the intellectual process in very different ways. It also brings up feelings and memories of the past or in the present. So when you look at this, what comes up for you? Anyone? Rebecca, go ahead.
Fear and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety. Okay. Yeah, I think that is a very common feeling right now. We are experiencing a lot of it for many different reasons. And sometimes we don't even know why. I know when I speak to my mother, sometimes she's just so out of herself. And she keeps asking herself, why do I feel this way? And I think that's a position that a lot of us find ourselves. We don't even know what's happening. Why am I in this state? Anyone else would like to share? What does this image bring up in your thoughts? What does it remind you of?
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty, okay.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a man and a woman and a woman.
A man and a woman, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Does it remind of us?
Yes, I can say this is like a sense of confusion, but you cannot see the clarity in the situation. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so because we don't understand who we are, sometimes we can't find our way, right? Because of these masks that we keep wearing. So when there is no mask, what's left? And that's one of the questions that we will try to sort of come into a beginning of understanding and also start a journey, because it's important for us to understand what is actually there when there are no masks. When I'm not wearing a mask, what's left? We're trying to get to an anchor. We're trying to get to a deeper sort of knowing, a deeper sense of clarity, so we can make choices that are informed and also that cause a certain result. Right now, it's a very interesting time because there is a lot of confusion And when you think of yourself, how often do you think my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions are causing and affecting the universe? Anyone? Has anybody contemplated that? Have you ever seen yourself? Have you ever thought of yourself, had a thought, my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions are moving the universe in a certain direction?
Yes.
Yes? Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very important for us to understand the time right now that we're in. It's a cycle of consciousness that is calling us to clean up and to realize that we are beyond the masks, that we are beyond just this shell, this shell that we're wearing called the body. And the reason why we're being called is because we need to understand that our thoughts, our consciousness is beyond matter and is actually the cause of the direction that matter takes. So a fundamental conclusion of the new physics also acknowledges that the observer creates the reality. So you are creating reality, not only for yourself, but creating collectively a reality, a field of matter, of form, of action. So as observers, we are personally involved with the creation of our own reality. Physicists are being forced to admit that the universe is a mental construction. The universe is immaterial, mental, and spiritual. And what this image basically is showing us is that there is a cycle of consciousness, and in the point that we are in at the moment is the point where we are being asked to come to realize what we are, who we are, and what's our place in the world. And how are we affecting not only my reality, but the reality as a whole. So this cycle of consciousness is actually speaking of 5 ages, because there is, you see the yellow is the sense of absolute purity, in the sense of I am optimally me without waste. Then in the silver age is you begin to take on that personality of beginning to degrade just a little bit, but that tree remains healthy, that you, your mind, your force is working at optimal space, that you are in awareness not only of yourself, but also the universe itself and the cause of effect that you're having on the universe. So there is a sense of responsibility that is awakened through this, right? And that there is also a cause that I have a journey through space and time that actually I am creating. So everything that's happening in the world at the moment is because we have created it. So where do we go from here? And that becomes a very important question. Okay, we know that we are creating what we are experiencing, right? Our thinking, our feelings, and our actions are creating a field of reality. How does that come about? Can anybody explain to me what belief systems are? Can anybody read the screen? Anyone?
Okay, let me try. Do your belief systems bring out your best? Do your belief systems bring out your best? The belief system of a person or society is the set of beliefs, ideas that they have about what is right and wrong and what is true and false. People don't change. There is never enough time. Humans are thoughtful. I work to survive. Life is a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we create a lot of, would you say that the majority, if you looked at society from a distance and you looked at belief systems that you see in action, would you say that most of them are positive or most of them are engaging in some kind of disharmony at this moment? What's happening at the moment? Are we feeling harmonious?
Not always.
Not always, yeah. So the things that we are believing, you know, there's so much division right now. We have division over politics. We have division over race. We have division over, you know, everything, whether we should go back to work or not, whether people should be protected or not. In terms of mask, we have so many things going on and more division. This whole pie is being broken into tiny little pieces. And the reason why there's so much division is because of these different belief systems. And we keep adding more and more belief systems that keep breaking us into smaller pieces of the whole. Right?
Yes.
Because we have a whole bag of goods. Some of the belief systems are positive and some of them are not so harmonious. And then there's a mixture of them in between. How many of you actually believe that you can change the things that you feel are not so productive within you, that don't take you into a good space? Anyone? Do you feel that you have the power to change whatever you choose?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, everybody?
But
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is a good group. Yeah, because I think that one of the biggest challenges that a lot of us face is the idea of redemption. And redemption actually is very much in the consciousness at the moment. Can we redeem ourselves from the things that we feel we have done incorrectly? Can we change? And that becomes very important because if we don't give ourselves permission to change, then we cannot create the change necessary. So redemption, the idea that I can redeem that which needs to be shifted, is very important. And it requires for us to let go of a lot of things. So we have a very wide spheres of influence, external influences, from our national belief systems to our religious belief systems. Can anybody else give me some examples of some of the other spheres that might be influencing you?
Political.
Political, yeah, huge right now. Seems to be you say a word and all of a sudden you are dubbed either conservative, you're dubbed something. You're being labeled immediately. So, anyone else?
The situations around you.
Yeah, situations around us. Yeah. So the more belief systems that surround each individual, the further away they are from the center. And so what can we do in order to come back into center? There's a process called individuation. And individuation is, I am going to choose who I am in terms of what I will choose as my belief system, as what is true and false for myself. So I'm going to go on a journey. And it used to be that most people would go on a journey when they came into puberty, but because society has gone so far away from even acknowledging the different stages of life, we have sort of delayed this process. And when you start asking the questions of what am I, who am I, and why am I here, that's basically what's being awakened. So individuation is an autonomous process of reaching individual wholeness, experienced as a psychological, spiritual completeness. In Jung's terms, the individuation means the realization of the self, which is the conjunction of the conscious and unconscious, both of the personal and the collective one. So you become to understand, who are you? What are you? And then also, what's your place in the tribe? What's your place in society? What's your purpose? And in order for you to go through this process, there has to be a letting go of your bag of goods, those belief systems that you have, sometimes fought for, those belief systems that you have said, this is the way it is. These belief systems that have created division between you and a loved one, or you and a stranger. So all these things are a process of, above it says, is your inner world a garden of flowers or a field of thorns? Is most of the time, are you feeling good about what you're doing? Or is it always a little prickly inside your mind? Anyone?
It's both for me.
It's what?
It's both for me.
Yeah, it's both for all of us, I think. I think there's not one time, I think that most of us go through this process of, give and take. And I think, again, that give and take, that ambiguity of a wavering from one position to the other, having one foot in and one foot out, is because we haven't yet found our anchor. We haven't found that center. So creating that center becomes very important as a process. And that's what individuation means. It says, I am finding my center so that I can stabilize the way I am in the world, the way I am with myself, the way I am with the world, and also understand why I'm here. What am I to do? Not because there is some mystery about it, but simply because I understand that I am the one creating life for myself. And I also have this will, that my will is also important, that I have a purpose. Rebecca, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, I think mostly it's more prickly, but outwardly, I have the garden of flowers, but inside, I probably worry more. And when you ask, can you let go of your bag of goods? Sometimes I think, well, at least I know everything in the bag. So in a certain way, there's a certain security of having those things, because like at least they're yours and you understand them. And but if one is able to let go of some of those things that really aren't positive and lighten your load, it also makes room to bring in more of the good things. So I like how you're explaining it, and seeing this really makes me see a different way.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we hide behind the bag, right? We hide behind the bag, and we also hide behind the mask. So, because we're wearing different masks at different times, you just really gave us a wonderful example of outward. My mask is to be jolly and to be positive, which is wonderful. But then inside, I'm not feeling that same jolliness, that same happiness, the same sense of, possibility. So there are two masks that I'm wearing. And so going into, so that actually allows us when we start to explore this from that perspective, it really gives us a sense of power to just start walking. In order to heal, you have to understand the illness, right? Healing cannot occur unless you know the state. And so the symptoms, we keep getting symptoms of illness, mental illness, not in the sense of mental illness in that sense, but that something is not fully there because we're not fully aligned, and also because we are not having the power to be the same person through all these different spheres of our life. So how can I come to that alignment where it's not about the external, but it's really about my inner stability, my inner understanding that allows me to make those choices clear, and that bag of goods becomes absolutely just the way I choose it, that I'm going to be experiencing, I'm going to take out this bag of goods in a way that is producing harmony for myself and the world around me. And we're going to go, so I ask you, are you ready to optimize your system? You know, sometimes it's kind of like when you have a New Year's resolution or you create, and my mom does this all the time, and I sometimes just joke with her and I say, okay, Mom, you promised that yesterday. So because we make promises to ourselves and to others, and we say, yes, I'm going to take care of it. But a lot of times we're just speaking in reaction to what is occurring in the moment, without really giving ourselves the permission to become what we say we want to be. So the first step, and the reason why I have that symbol, it's really a rebooting. You know, in order to reboot, individuation is a way of rebooting. And what happens when you reboot a system? Anyone? You reboot your computer. What's happening there?
All the little problems are gone.
Yeah, it takes care of all the bugs. It just kind of cleans the system and it takes it to its original hardware, right? And software.
You have a reset.
Yeah, you have a reset. So the individuation is really a reset. If you look at it from the perspective of hardware and software, you're resetting your system. And that's what, but you have to push that button with intention, and you have to push that button with permission. I give myself permission to change. If you don't see the possibility of the change that needs to occur, the change cannot happen. You can't push the button. So ask yourself, am I really ready to change? Am I really ready to face myself? Am I really ready to change whatever is necessary when I look into it? Am I ready to heal that which is broken on the level of the self and also the level of the world? So that's very important. If I'm going to push the button, you know, I'm going to push it, but if I don't commit, if I don't give myself permission, guess what's going to happen? Viruses are going to attack the system very quickly. So you may push that button, but you may have to push it, 10, 20 times. So are you ready to push that button with an intention to really keep the computer clean? Keep yourself clean. Keep yourself clean of waste. It's very important. So right now I'm going to explore an idea. You know, how many believe that that there's something outside of, there's something beyond death? How many of you are comfortable, are most of you comfortable with me using the word soul as an expression of the eternal energy, life force, consciousness, whatever it is that you're referring to it? Don't let the word, I'm just using that word soul because it's, yes, please, whoever's raising your hand, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel comfortable.
Okay. There's 2 people raising your hands. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Need
I'm
to add?
comfortable.
Okay, great. So we're all feeling comfortable with using the word soul. So soul can mean many different things, but for the purpose of this particular platform, we're going to be using soul as the form of you. You are a soul, okay? we're gonna simplify things and we're gonna just use that term as, and it's gonna mean eternal point of light energy, spiritual light energy. It's a life force, it's a consciousness. There are right now many studies being done in terms of consciousness. Where is it? Where does it originate? And so there's a lot of interesting things happening where science is converging with spirituality, and science is converging to the point where it's actually making statements that relate to the soul or the consciousness, the eternal aspect of it. And biocentrism is one of those scientific systems that speaks of this beyond death aspect. Biocentrism implies that death simply does not exist. It is an illusion which arises in minds of people. It exists because people identify themselves with their body. They believe that the body is going to perish sooner or later, thinking that their consciousness would disappear too. In fact, consciousness exists outside of the constraints of time and space. That means that who you are is beyond the experience of the brain. And a lot of science also, in terms of neuroscience, they're going in two different directions. One is saying it's all within the brain. The brain is a very powerful machine, which it is. And there's another strain of thought that says there's something beyond the brain that actually is activating it. Because in certain studies, it shows that the activation of the brain continues even when the brain is dead, considered brain dead. So there's a lot of interesting new conversations that are expanding the exploration of what is consciousness, who am I as a being outside of just this physical body. And so the original eternal self we begin to question, what is the eternal self? And for the conversation in this particular platform, we're going to just use the soul as an eternal point of light that is eternal. Okay, so I am an eternal force of energy, of consciousness, of life. I am a life-giving source. So to think about that as a belief system shifts the way you think. So we're gonna take a little break here, and we're gonna take a moment of silence, just because, it's a practice. So although everything that we're doing is important and timing is important, we're gonna consciously say, let's put a stop for a minute and just be in silence to take in whatever's happening, but more importantly, to take in and pay attention to our thoughts, to our feelings, and to our instrument, the physical body. How is it doing? Is it feeling comfortable? Is it feeling restless? Is it feeling peaceful? When we come to ourselves, when we come to our original eternal self, we begin to create new relationships, even with time, where it's not about time or not having time, but it's I am creating the time required in order for me to accomplish and do what I choose to do. So I am the master of time, and we'll go into that. So as we shift from body, from belief systems, and we go into exploration of eternal space, the anchor, the original, the foundation, where we can always go back to, what happens is a whole new world begins to awaken, because it's already there. It's not something you have to work towards. It's actually something that you just work towards allowing to emerge. So we're like a flower, you're blossoming. So one of the things that's important, as we said, you know, if you know the software, if you know the hardware, then guess what? You know how to fix it, you know how to reacclimate it, you know how to heal it, you know how to do stuff with it that you normally would not have even thought of. So know your ecosystem to function at an optimal capacity. What am I? What am I? Not who am I, but what am I? So I am a combination. So in complex systems, a system broadly defined is a set of entities. So it's a set of entities that through their interactions, relationships, or dependencies form a unified field. And most of us have been exposed to the idea of energy, chakras, naughty points through the Chinese methodologies, just all these different forms that spoke of the quote spiritual energy. We'll call it spiritual energy, which are all pointing towards the eternal self, the light energy, which is the soul. Okay, and then we have a temporal organic matter, which is our physical body, which in the way society has educated us, for most of us, we've been educated in such a way that we identify to this temporary space. So exploring these two different systems that are working together, the soul energy, the energy part, and then the matter part, and how these two things intertwine in order to create the integrated self, is very important because we understand the parts of the system. So we're both light energy, wave energy, particle energy, because wave, light forms as two, wave and particle. So temporary organic matter has, we know what that is. We've studied the body for a long, long time. But we have just tapped into what is the soul? What does that mean? Does it have a process? Does it have, how does it function? We're gonna explore that. So now, do you have any questions in relationship to that? So I'm going to briefly just explain this, go through this phase, mechanics of soul being. I have, I give, I respond. That's the soul space. So I have, I never am missing anything. I am complete and I'm whole. I'm never lacking. I'm always full. Because I'm full and overflowing, I am able to give. I don't need to react to anything because I have a focus. I have an understanding of who I am. I have a foundation. I have a place that I anchor myself and that I can then respond, not react, but I respond to the world. So I'm no longer in reaction. And I'm no longer in identification with the influences that are from outside, but I am identifying with my inner resources. And what are the resources of the soul? A conscious mind that creates thoughts, emotions, desires. So the brain does not think. And that's something that might surprise people, and also it's something for you to explore. You don't, keep this in mind. Everything that I say, you don't have to believe, but you can set a stage for you to explore these questions further. And maybe you'll come to an agreement, and maybe you won't. But this is simply about expanding the possibilities and expanding your intellectual capacity to see differently from a different space, to explore a particular way of processing life that will anchor you and give you a center from which you can then work out of, no matter what the situation is outside. So I, the soul, have a body. The soul uses the body and its sense organs to express itself in the physical dimension. This is my instrument. And a lot of times what happens is that we say, this is more important than this. But actually, either one cannot exist without the other. If there's no soul in the body's dead. If the soul doesn't have a body to work out, it cannot function here in the physical world. So these two parts have to work together. And the soul itself has a way that it processes, the way it works, and has different parts to it. So the conscious mind that creates the thoughts, it has an intellect which helps it judge and discriminate and create decisions based on what you, the soul, have told it you are. So the belief systems that you accumulate through time is what causes the intellect to choose or be confused or be clear. So it's up to you to make sure that it understands exactly who you say you want and are. You are, I am, as opposed to I want to become. I think I am. No, I am X because this is what I'm choosing to be in this particular moment. So I am telling my intellect, and what I'm telling my intellect will allow it to judge in a second, right, wrong, true, false. And this will help the body when it sends out a wave into the brain actually will take that message and then create chemicals, right? So it goes from a wave, the soul sends waves into the brain. Those waves are then turned into chemicals in the body. So there's two different spheres of the way they function. Keep that in mind, okay? So there's a third aspect to the I, the soul, the consciousness, is the subconscious mind. And that's where everything that I've done, every thought, every feeling, every action that I've ever taken, that's where it's stored. So remember, your bag of goods, it's either carrying lots of heavy stuff, heavy memories, dark memories, light memories. It's a big bag of goods. Now, you can line that subconscious mind by actually having the power to face whatever comes up that is not yet resolved, and you fix it. How do you fix it? We'll explore that too. Any question? So this is how the soul functions, and that's an exploration, okay? You don't have to accept any of this. You can explore it further. You can practice it to see how it works for you. And just, it's really about play. Have fun. The journey of spirituality is actually very fun and light, and it's about experimenting with ideas. So looking for consciousness in the brain, as most of us have been doing, is like looking in the radio for an announcer. So I think all of you got the note. I hope all of you got the note. And if you didn't, it's okay. Think of, does anybody have an obstacle that they brought to the session that they want to work out? Anybody? Perhaps an issue with a child, an issue with somebody you love, an issue with yourself that you're trying to figure out, anything? An issue with the world? And we're going to use this processing system to see how new things can come through for us. Anyone? All right, it seems that everybody is understanding. Does anybody have a question?
So I have an example of an obstacle if we
Okay.
want to go
Yes,
ahead with
please.
that.
Yeah.
It is basically that I feel I cannot stop thinking about work, meaning the office work, no matter where I am. Lately, I find that even when I'm meditating, thoughts about work are coming up. And at the same time, I don't know if this is a problem within a problem, but I actually feel rather, at least I think I feel rather unhappy actually working there. And yet I keep thinking about all the things I feel responsible for at the office, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're wearing a mask, right? Is there a mask there that you can identify?
No, actually, when you were talking about masks, I was thinking, I think there isn't always an awareness of what mask we're wearing. And I don't know if, I guess maybe there's a mask of, I don't know, I feel responsible because I work with patients. So I don't know if I just feel responsible for taking care of all of that at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, you have a belief system that I am responsible. Let's play around with that idea. Okay. So there's a belief system in you that says, I am responsible for all my patients. Right? Is that correct?
Yes, right.
Okay. So we're going to look at that. So I am responsible for all my patients. Is that possible?
No,
Is that,
it's not.
yeah. So it's not in your control, right?
Right.
To assure that everybody's safe and sound and they're all happy. So it's not it's a belief system that is not true. So letting go of that is important, and creating something that actually replaces it in a beautiful way, which also gives us the result that you actually want, but it actually gives you joy in doing it without the heaviness, so the lightness. So think about a different way of perceiving yourself that will lighten the way in terms of this. So think of a thought that would actually put you in a position at work. I'll give you an example. I am available and willing to support and offer healing, love, patience, right? To all of my patients. So it's just simple, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to resolve all of the universal problems. It's just simple, right? So I am available to support, offer them healing, peace, respect, whatever it is that you want to offer to the best of my capacity. That's just an example, right? How does that feel to you?
Yeah, it reminds me that this is not about what a thing of what I have to do, but more not even what I want to do, but who I am, what's in my capacity. And I think just reframing it to say I'm available makes a big difference.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. The belief systems have to be reframed in such a way. We're not used to even thinking that we have the capacity to recreate what we're experiencing. But words have absolute power and they create worlds. So the way I use words will actually create a world for me. So my conscious mind, if I put it into good use, I am going to create thoughts that will support the well-being of myself, knowing my qualities. So this is why it's important to understand the qualities of who I am as a soul. We're going to go in deeper into that. So by just simply changing the belief system, the way you are thinking about yourself in relationship to the world and the relationship to yourself will cause a whole different world to appear. You see how that works?
Yeah,
so
that's powerful, actually.
Yeah, so being very aware that the first step is I need to become aware of how I am thinking about it. What story have I created about myself in relationship to this situation? And then how do I need to rewrite this belief in a way that empowers me and also offers me freedom. And also coming from the choice I am willing to give. So remember, the soul works as I have. So what do you have as a soul that you're willing to give? Because your natural capacity is to give. Your natural inclination is to give. And your sense of purpose is to respond to the needs that you have, but also the needs of the world. You see how that works? So even
Yes.
understanding just the simplicity of, as a soul, I have, what do I have? My natural response is to give, right? So what do I have? What treasure do I have that I want to offer in this position? And a lot of times when we think of work, it becomes a sense of responsibility. And I think that a lot of people are working out of the sense of responsibility and a sense of non-joy in what they're doing because they forgot why they actually got into what they're doing. They forgot that it was about offering something that you felt joy out of, and it became a cumbersome activity because you lost track of why you did it originally, right? So as a healing person, you would probably want to give and heal people. So just keep in mind, if we put these aspects into practice practically, this is not about theoretical. This is really about, and one of the other things that when you come from the position of I, the soul, there is no mystery. Everything that is unknown, it's for you to know, for you to open up your consciousness, your awareness, and become aware of what's all of the unknown. Self-realization, individuation, is to come in complete relationship with the self. There is no mystery. There cannot be a mystery involved in the coming face to face with the self. If there is a mystery, there's a barrier. There cannot be a barrier when you're facing yourself. That's the whole purpose of individuating, of rebooting your system. I am ready to face everything that I am. Does that make sense?
Yes, a lot of sense. Thank you.
So, yeah, so we're gonna go into the next step where, so how can I get to that space where I'm actually working out of the integrated self? Can anybody repeat what the integrated self is? Did anybody understand what that means? Integrated self, we just went through it. What's the integrated self? Anyone?
The
The soul, the body. Sorry.
Can you repeat that again, please?
It's the soul and the body working together.
Yeah, the soul and the body working together. So understanding that I am a system, an integrated system, and this is the self. The original, the point of life comes from I, the soul, that energy force. And I, the energy force, give life to the physical body. And how you are able to connect to that space, that environment, that experimentation is through the connection of meditation. What happens in meditation is that specific integration. So we meditate to connect with our divine self and the divine force, something beyond us, which is going to energize us, which is going to give us the power in order to face ourselves, to remove the waste. So meditate to stabilize the integrated self. So it's a practice that is required on many levels if you want to speed up the process of cleaning up. You sit or you walk or you do action. So meditation from this particular platform, So Conscious, is a meditation with open eyes. And the reason why we have open eyes is because we want to remain conscious. We want to be in observation of ourselves, of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, but we also want to be in observation and complete inattention to the world that surrounds us, right? It's very important that I remain conscious of myself and what surrounds me so that I can actually become clear as to what to do and what is required of me in this particular moment. So I meditate in order to purify, in order to open up myself and be free of limitation, in order to discover new capacities, in order to remain clear so that I'm not confused by the influences of the outside. I remain clean. I build capacity. I understand my system to the point where I can call upon any part of me in order to, in a second, call it into action. I call it to energize. Meditation purifies. It awakens me to myself and to more. It also creates balance. So there's many reasons why we go into meditation, but it's also very important because it actually connects and it fuses the integrated self in such a way that it begins to work at optimal possibility. So meditation becomes an important practice, a daily practice, a commitment. So even 10 minutes to start is powerful because in those 10 minutes, so the other thing to keep in mind in terms of meditation is that it's not about sitting and going into nothing. It's actually sitting or walking or cooking or reading a book in consciousness of I, the soul, am reading a book. So it's a way of using mind power in order to understand situation and to be able to respond from that internal space as opposed to be distracted by the external. Does that make sense? Any questions? So meditation, what happens in meditation naturally, so as I go into meditative state, consciousness, into I, the soul, am here, and I am connecting to myself, to my qualities, is what happens is the spheres of influence, external influence, begin to disappear. They just wash away. And the reason why they're washing away is because you understand that they're not coming from what is original there. So they're just washing away. So meditation actually gets you so focused into the original, I am peace. So it's not I have peace, but I am peace at work. I am love at work. So I am a being that that energizes a space with love because I am love, right? So it's a different way of function, but meditation becomes very important in helping you clear away the waste. So you become lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So the aspect of, so what are the qualities of the soul? So just like anything else, we want to know what we're working with. What are the tools here? What is the nature, right? So the nature of the soul is it has these virtues, the eternal, it's an internal compass. The intellect will work as an internal, using these virtues as an internal compass. So whenever there's confusion, you can always go to one of these. Actually, I want you to do an exercise right now. I want you to close your eyes for just a minute. And I want you to think about a quality, a virtue, a quality that you admire in yourself and that you love about yourself, and that people just naturally speak about you using that quality. So kind, so generous, so sweet, so creative, so open, so tender. Think about that. I want you to just clearly see that quality. And one of the things that is very important in this process of coming into ourselves is to understand ourselves so deeply And we call this the speciality of the soul. So each one of us is unique, and each one of us has a speciality. We're special in the sense that we have different capacities, but we all have the same tools to work from. So one of the beautiful things that comes from soul consciousness is that as the belief systems wash away, the divisions that we have created in our mind and in our heart that separate humanity and nature begin to disappear, because we actually step into common ground. We as a spiritual family have many things in common. Each one of us is a point of life, force, and energy whose qualities are love, purity, peace, spiritual power, bliss, creativity, tolerance, faith, wisdom, honesty. So when we actually go into that space, and also identify, take the time to identify that speciality, that quality that you've already been working with. For as long as you can remember, you've been called, oh, you're so creative, you're so tender, you're so sweet. That speciality is actually a special tool. Because if you cannot remember, I am a peaceful being, and if that doesn't feel like, oh, this is not quite the right quality for me, then choose a quality that you say, this is my grounding force. This is my speciality. And whenever I am in confusion, I will remember I am a tolerant being, or whatever that is for you. I am a peaceful being. I am a humble being. And start from there. And one of the things that you'll find is that when you anchor yourself in one of these qualities and you work a situation through with one of these qualities, things always turn out positive. So one of the things to keep in mind is when peace is lacking even 0.0001%, it's no longer peace. So you have to really be clean about your intention and also your state of being. And that's why awareness becomes very important. Meditation makes you so sensitive to this little, very sort of nuances that give you signals that say, you know, you need to chill out. You need to come back to your original space. That speciality, that special quality of yours, use it in this moment. Anchor yourself in that. Use it to process life. So the virtues are universal. So one of the things to question, some of the things that you can ask a question when you're working through things is, am I working out of a virtue or am I working out of a value? And how can you tell the difference? Well, virtues are always universal and they're grounded in truth. Truth that applies to everyone and everything. It's really interesting how that happens. And values are conditional. So values have to have a condition in order for them to be true in that situation. And you can test this in many different ways. So if you want to know if you are in your eternal self, you ask yourself, is my thinking universal? Is it accepting of all beings? Is it accepting of myself? Does it show any, does it take away energy from me? The minute that something takes away energy from you, guess what? It's a signal that it's not within virtue. So it's very simple. So the more you practice, the more you engage in meditation, the more you actually create a relationship, okay? A practice where you become these forces, then the more doorways that will open up. And remember, when you're in meditation, it's not about working through the meditation. It's not about going into nothingness. It's about facing whatever's showing up in that space of meditation, in that space of I am conscious of my state. So whatever's coming up, it's a signal of whether you have harmony inside of you or disharmony. It's not about right and wrong. It's simply harmony or disharmony. And it's up to you to choose whether you want to stay in harmony or you want to move away from the disharmony. It's really that simple. So what we are searching for in life, you know, right now, people are paying, it's $1 billion market, love. Everybody's looking for love. Everybody's looking for connection. But what are we trying to connect to? Right? So there's a whole journey out into outer space. Well, before we go out into outer space and really look at the expansive outer space, we have such an incredible journey to go into just by looking into the inner space. There's just that much unknown and that much to discover in that inner space. Does anybody have any questions? So sit in silence, and while you're sitting in silence or you're walking in silence, and silence does not mean that you're quiet. It means that your mind is focused inwardly, that is conscious of itself, it's conscious of its qualities, and it's conscious of its possibility. And just by being in that consciousness, allow things to emerge. Don't push. Have patience, have love. You will emerge from within yourself. It's like a flower given the right amount of time, around the right amount of sun, and you will blossom. It's just that simple. There's a wonderful simplicity to all of this. So when we are in consciousness
I think
of this,
there are a couple of questions, one in the chat box, and I see a hand raised. I just thought I would bring that.
Can you please, thank you for bringing that up, because sometimes I'm so in the space that I need to pay closer attention to it. So please feel free to speak up. So please, if you have your hands up, please speak up. And if you have a question, please do so. Just be in awareness of each other so that you're not speaking over each other. Go ahead. 2 participants raised hands. Okay, go ahead.
Can you give an example of values?
Yes, I can actually. So let's say, so whenever we call something and it goes into a label, Christian love, okay? Christian love. Let's just use that as an example, Christian love. Well, Christian love is given, it's given conditionally, right? So there's certain prerequisites in terms of that love. So there is a condition of being a certain way, having certain relationship to a certain way of thinking, processing. And though that is conditional to the offering of that particular love. So there are many, when we talk about cultures, we speak of the value of tolerance. I'll give you an example. I tolerate anybody as long as they do as I want them to do. You see? I tolerate. So tolerance can be used as a value when it's conditional. So that's one of the things that is really important for us to understand between virtues and values. The values have a relationship to virtues, but they are placed under a condition for them to be expressed. So I tolerate those who are in agreement with me. That's a value. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the tolerance in pink at the circle on the right-hand side, that
Yeah.
tolerance is virtual. That tolerance is not value.
That's not a value, because what happens is that when you use it in universal, I tolerate every single human being and all life on the planet. That's a universal statement. So there is no exception in the statement. I am detached. I am lovingly detached from needing or wanting anything from anyone. Okay, so that's a universal thing. You're giving something, right?
So everything within the circle, those marked with color, is virtues.
Those are all virtues. And those same virtues can then also be applied as values when there is a condition to them.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Thank
So
you.
I expect you to think, be a certain way in order for me to be able to give you something. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Does anybody else have a question?
So then in that sense, would commitment be a value or a virtue?
I commit to you only if you give me what I want. What is that?
That would be a value.
That would be a value. So I commit to you and accept you just as you are. Is that a value or a virtue?
That would be a virtue.
Yeah, so universal without condition, and the other one is a value. There's a condition to the way I will be with you and I will give to you, but you have to fulfill my need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But then in that sense, isn't every value essentially a virtue today? Like, personally for me, I would find it really hard to find a virtue within myself.
Yeah.
And because it's like everything around me is subject to conditions. If something happens and if something doesn't happen in the right conditions, there is no way I can still keep exuding that value.
Well, that's when you begin to start actually operating. It's a beautiful point that you bring up. You see, what you just described is I operate according to the conditions of the external influence. So depending on what comes my way, I will act upon it accordingly. So when you are acting from a soul conscious space, you're saying, I am faith, I am love, I am happiness, and it doesn't matter what's coming my way. So you are responding from I am, not I have. So those are two very important distinctions. So I am love, and what does love have to offer?
But
Love
then
has to,
from what you're saying, how does one go from making that a virtue? Because I'm pretty sure most of people would agree with me. It's like if you say I am love, you don't find yourself exuding that. At least I haven't seen anyone in my life, nor myself, where I exude one quality no matter what the condition is.
Yeah, so it's also about choosing the right quality for the right situation, right? So you're not going to be choosing love when peace is actually required in the situation. You're not going to be choosing love necessarily when detachment is required. You're not going to be choosing love when enthusiasm is required. So what you're basically doing is you're coming to a relationship with these are powers that you have as a soul. And they're a choice for you to actually exercise them in any given time. So whenever we take these powers and we put a condition to them, when we express them, that is when they turn into values. So when we put a condition upon the way I will be, that you are functioning from a value system. When you say, I am a spiritual being, and that's the practice. Actually, you hit a very important point, because what we're doing is we're shifting. I know how we have been operating, and how we've been operating is exactly as you described. I operate according to the circumstances that come my way. I react to them, not respond. So if I am operating from soul space, I am responding. I'm taking a step back. I'm going to collect myself. I'm going to remember who I am. I'm going to remember what I have to give in this situation. And then I'm going to give it over, because that's what my purpose. I will give naturally. It will come out of you. So it's really, we're creating a new dynamic within ourselves and a new response to the world and the external. Does that make sense? So it's really about you exercising a new muscle.
Yeah, the react versus respond thing makes sense to me.
Yeah, so we're learning to respond from a position of knowing who I am, what I have to give in this particular situation in order to harmonize the space. So you're also coming from intention. I have the intention to create peace. I have the intention to create harmony. I have the intention of creating balance, right? So
yeah.
that's what my intention becomes. It becomes pure and clean and aligned with who I say I am. If it's conditional from a value system, then I'm going to shift according to what I want to get from a particular situation.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I live in an environment like it's a little difficult for me. Like I feel the lady in the house is like always suspicious. She's who she is by nature. And then the workplace I live in, that lady, the person in charge, like goes into like all the time. Anything is enough for her to get angry. So then within myself, to be honest, like I say, oh, nothing should go wrong. Nothing should go right with them, and like it's not the right. Then again, I say to myself, oh no, bless them. I keep on rattling, bless them, because I want to keep myself good. If I am not okay, I pollute the environment. What should I do? Because I get easily tensed up and hurt because I do so much and with a good intention, it's never appreciated and it hurts.
Yeah. So
everybody is like okay, no God relationship. Of course, they have bhakti things going on. This lady is into a lot of bhakti, and the other one is into nothing and some sort of witchcraft and stuff. But I'm not worried about them. What do I do? Like I think it's my part. I have to play a role here, right? I have to change the world because I've been in Gyan from 1993, 1994. No,
so
1990.
Here's something for you to try. So if you are fluctuating, fluctuating and also having thoughts about what you're giving and what you're not getting back, it means that you're operating from a belief system that's conditional. I need to get this in order for me to feel good, right? And when you don't get it, you will blame and you will complain, right? And so the only way to stop that is if you need to strengthen your relationship with your original self, with your pure self, then what you need to do is spend a little bit more time in meditation. And also in your environment, go inward when you're in the space with others and you start to vibrate your original qualities. And as you do that, the space, your inner space and the outer space will begin to purify and clean up. It's really, it works. It automatically works. So stop the creation of complaint and stop and stop to the creation of I need them to be X in order for me to feel fulfilled and also feel inspired to continue to give. Right?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank
you. Anyone else?
Yeah, for the previous lady talking about her issue, you asked her to go to meditation more. So during that meditation, what should she be focusing on, or can you got a little bit more detail into that? What was
Yeah.
how to do that meditation itself?
Yeah, meditation here is actually working with knowledge. So the reason why we assure that that souls get back into understanding the integrated self, the qualities and the capacities of the integrated self, is that when you go into meditation and you have a particular issue or experience that you want to resolve, what you do is you use the meditation, the silence, in order to churn. So here's an example for her. So because she is needing something, she can practice I am a whole being, complete, with all treasures. And treasures means with all virtues, okay? I love myself, okay? So you churn the ideas that are going to amplify that quality practically, and so that you create the experience connecting to these qualities and the experience of fullness. So in meditation, in this particular form of meditation, you're not going to go into the nothingness and wait for some mystical experience to happen, but sometimes it does happen, right? But in a different form. But what you're going to do is you're going to create the environment for you to connect to your qualities so that you can then use them. So what you're doing is you're building up your power by actually connecting to, I feel complete, content. I am content, right? I am content with myself. I love myself and I am full of love. So going into that space of creation. So most of us don't understand that we're actually creating environments. So as we churn, as we give energy to these particular qualities, we're actually creating an environment, an internal environment and also an external environment. So you just churn the environment that you feel you are requiring in order for you to feel within yourself, to come back to yourself. I am a peaceful being. What does a peaceful being need? Nothing. I am peace. So in that I am peace, I am able to give to these people whatever they require because I am a peaceful being. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So you're like it
okay.
says there, exercise these spiritual muscles. So what you're doing is you're in meditation, you're exercising these spiritual muscles.
Right, you're trying to put yourself to be that person, to have that quality, and maybe it's going through this positive experience, and maybe that will change your sanskars a little bit. Is that the whole idea?
So remember that it's not about you trying to be, is that you are. This is my nature. I am.
Right.
So coming from I am peace, I am love, I am faith, I am
Can
friendship.
I push it? Yeah. Can I push this a little bit? Let's say you've done that, okay? You felt wonderful, right? But then tomorrow morning, your boss now, you kind of felt, okay, you went back to your old situation. So what now? Because that happens a lot, happens so much.
So we have to decide to not be lazy. You know, it's laziness sometimes that actually causes the difficulty. So we're not committed enough to say, I am putting a full stop to this issue. I know what the problem is. I know what the solution is, and I'm putting a full stop. It shall not happen again. So it's actually being determined and firm with yourself. There's discipline involved.
At the moment of what you call that, a bad, I don't know, a bad karma situation. So you still should be able to do at that moment.
Yeah, that's why we have our open eyes, so that we're conscious of ourselves at all times. So I, the soul, am operating. I'm the soul here having a conversation. I'm the soul who's using this tongue to use words to communicate. So I pay attention to the words I'm using. I, the soul, am listening with peace, peaceful listening, right? So I'm listening with compassion. So when you put yourself in, when you wear those jewels, you actually get a different result. So it's remembering to put those treasures on, to be wearing those jewels, so that you can then be that in any given time. So it's up to you to actually have a determined thought, to not be lazy and say, oh, this is why, but actually stop the cycle of creating excuses for why it's not happening and saying, I am committed to, I am love. I am committed to, I am whatever is required in that moment. To be patient with this being. I am committed and I am tolerance at work here. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So in another word, you're not going to give me any slack then.
Well, it's not about me giving you slack. It's really, remember, it's about nobody. You are your own guru. You are your own teacher, and you're the one who's responsible for yourself. That's one of the things of soul consciousness. You come to the awareness of, it's my choice. It's my creation. It's my responsibility. See, it's not coming from any excuses. It's not coming from anything except I am responsible, I am aware, and I have a choice. Now let me exercise my choice accurately. So it's about accuracy. Right?
Santi, USA, Santi, USA.
Thanks.
I hope that answered your question.
To a degree, yes.
Okay. And if you have further questions, and we can also discuss it outside of the session, and we can go deeper into your exploration. Now we're going to, so this may answer some of it as well. So the powers of the soul, 8 powers of the soul. So as you go into meditation, certain phenomena is going to happen. First, you're going to connect and awaken. The virtues are going to begin to blossom. It's going to become natural for you to connect with them and to be them in action. It's going to be natural for you to see with love, hear with compassion, speak with wisdom. It's going to become natural for you to actually be who you are, because it's already there. All you need to do is exercise it and awaken it and work those muscles. So let's take another situation that somebody else may be facing, and let's work it through using the powers of the soul. So the powers of the soul come from you exercising your virtues. As you exercise your virtues, these powers are naturally awoken because they're already there. And the only way they can awaken is by you going into meditation, working your virtues, working those muscles. And as you work them and they become more natural for you to be literally in them, what happens is these powers begin to awaken, which make aspects of just making decision-making, knowing timing, the timing of the situation. Is it time for me to take action? Is it time for me to pull back? Is it time for me to actually make better judgment of this? Not judgment in a blame game, but judgment or judgment in the sense of what is right and what is not right for me. Okay, so these are the powers. So just like a superhero has different powers, these are the powers of the soul, and you begin to exercise them and they begin to show up for you. The capacity to express them begins to show up. It's really amazing. I've been practicing this for more than 20 years, and I can tell you, it's always amazing how the intellect in any given situation will just bring up the right power so that it activates in the moment when it's required. So we'll play around with that just very quickly here. So allow these powers of the soul to naturally emerge. So spend time in meditation, practice your virtues, your natural virtues, and this is what will emerge. So does anybody have another obstacle, something that they're facing that they would want to work out in the using these powers? Anyone?
May I share one?
Yes, please.
Okay, and sometimes I feel difficult.
Can you speak up a little bit louder?
Okay, sometimes I feel a little bit difficult to communicate with my daughter who is a teenager. Yeah, because I think some of her values is different from mine.
Okay. Yeah, that happens.
For example, she follows some idols, some popular singer and movie stars.
Yeah.
That I don't think she should put a lot focus on those kind of things.
Yeah. So remember, who is she? Who are you? And then who is she? Is she the body or is she a soul?
She's a soul.
How long has that soul been around? How long have you been around?
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. So the soul is an eternal being, right? Cannot be
Mhm.
destroyed. So it's been around for a long time and it's had lots of experiences. So that's what we're focusing on. Two souls with experience, and each one of them has a different karma, different sort of situation that they've come here to play out, right?
Mhm.
And the other thing to keep in mind is, who are you being in relationship to your daughter? So are you creating an expectation? You're requiring her to be a certain way in order for you to be happy with who she is? Or are you allowing her to create her experiences in such a way that you give her the freedom to express her uniqueness and also give her the freedom to learn from it? So do you have control of when she does things and when she doesn't do things? Is that in your control or out of your control?
I think generally in my control.
Okay, so maybe that's also, does you want, does your desire to have the control all the time actually create a good communication with her, or does she feel that that's not so good for her?
I think she feel that's not good for her.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't control her a lot. I just disagree with her in many things.
Okay, so your disagreement is with her, right? But you think that it's with her, but it's the disagreement is actually within yourself. And here's why it's within yourself. So are you an accepting soul? Let's look at acceptance. Are you an accepting soul in this situation? Do you accept the other the way they choose to be?
No, not completely.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of sense of, I need to protect my child and do all these aspects, but there's also, I want to be a good example, right? It always comes back to this, what kind of example am I being for this child? So am I accepting? Am I responsible? Am I indicating the kind of values, or am I indicating the kind of virtues? What do you think is present there, values or virtues? Huh?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the values are conditional, remember?
Yeah.
So are you conditional, or are you accepting fully of whatever she chooses?
Conditional.
Yeah, so that's the first thing to resolve. I need to create the space where I can accept my child. I can give her my advice and share my point of view. And, you know, the other thing is, people learn as they move through life, right? So we can't protect each other from everything. We sometimes, it's good to go through the errors, the trial and errors that we are meant to have in order for us to learn and to become stronger, right?
Yes.
So allowing each other to actually get through that space.
Yes.
Okay. But sometimes, sometimes I think I have a responsibility.
Yeah, we had a friend earlier too who brought up the sense of responsibility, right? So is the responsibility in your control or out of your control?
out of my control.
Yeah. So I support my daughter in her choices. And whenever she needs me, I will be there to love her and to always show her that she's in a safe space with me. See, that's a different value system, right? It's a different virtue in action. So you have to change the way you're operating, the way you're speaking to yourself. What's your story about your daughter? And what's your story in your relationship? So I am creating a beautiful relationship with my daughter where I am creating safety, where she feels safe to be herself, her unique self. And I'm also communicating with her that she's always safe in this space and that she's always supported. And by giving that kind of space, what happens is that they become even more powerful, and they also become more able to discern. You see the power to discriminate? So the power to discriminate is the ability to discern the subtle and the separate, what is true from what is false. So because you're so clear in your own choices, she will become clear in her own choices and why she's doing them. So by you being an example of clarity of your own virtues, she will then be able to discern what has value and what doesn't have value. So she may walk away from that ideology of looking up at stars.
Okay, I will try. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's experimenting, and playing, having fun.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Does anybody else have another obstacle that they would like to work through using these powers? Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I'll try one. I'll try one. I have less issue with nowadays with getting angry or things like that. Although it still happens, but I have a way of dealing with it. But one side of it, I find it tough is for worldly pleasure, like spending a lot of time in still liking to watch movies, right? And then today, it's talked about movie. It's really, really bad, things like that. Earlier talking to you, you might actually tell me that, oh, that's because you are weak. You haven't made enough determination. But no matter what I do, it seems that I understand. And nowadays, I even understand that it is bad. It's wasting time. So in worldly pleasure, it might not be just that. I mean, you got sexuality, you got food and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Now I am already vegetarian for many years, but when I turned vegetarian, I don't need any effort. It was just the right time. So, but in this specific situation, it's wasting a lot of time in watching TV and movies, things like that. So it's more personal now.
Yeah, so here's something that for you to keep in mind, the power to discriminate, right? So what I'm hearing is that sometimes it's difficult for you to discern what is right and what is not so right for you. That's why
I actually know that it is bad. I mean, I even have the previously before, I would say, oh no, you know, when I watch movies, some good movie, you can learn a lot of life from it, right? But nowadays, I even from that point of excuse, I already come to terms that no, it's actually quite wasting time. It's actually not good for me. So I have that conviction already. It's absolutely, I understand that.
Okay, so then basically it's the power to cooperate with yourself. So you say that this is how I want to live, right? This is what I want to do, but are you cooperating with your idea of how you want to be? So the power to cooperate is the ability to give attention, time, experience, and wisdom in the service of others and the work alongside them. So in this particular situation, it's are you willing to give yourself cooperation so that you are strong enough to live according to what you say you want to live? And you know, it's very important for us to really understand that soul consciousness is not about looking at the weakness, but it's actually about looking at the strength. So it's always having pure vision to be able to look at what quality needs to be elevated, strengthened. So we don't look at weaknesses in that sense. We look at what is not strong enough here, and so we need to elevate it.
So if I work on try to strengthen the side, the weakness will fall away by itself. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So we focus on the strengths. So by actually focusing on the virtue, what happens is the virtue begins to purify the state of your situation. Okay. So the more you engage it, the more power you're given. So it's basically a form of cooperating with who you say you want to be.
Would you be?
Huh?
Would you be able to just quickly? I'm sorry taking up all your time. Maybe one or two statements that I can craft during my meditation, specific to that issue.
Yeah. So I am powerful being. Interesting. Who is able to live my truth. It's very simple. I am a powerful being who's able to live my truth, because that's what you're saying is your truth, right?
Right.
So you just keep energizing that. I am able to live my truth. I am able to live my truth. So you're selecting, you are able to discern what's right for you, but at times you're not exercising your full power to become that. So
yes, exactly.
now you have to energize your power to be that. So I am a powerful being who lives my truth. I live my truth. I live according to my honest truth. I live in transparency to what I say is good for me. I live in honesty, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it's really about, it's creativity with the mind, creativity with the creation of thoughts, because the thoughts originate all process. Does anybody else have any questions? I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have a question. In this COVID situation, I have, my whole concern is to worry about the kids and the grandkids. I mean, my children and grandkids, of them being safe out there, because, you know, they don't go out and do, like, you know, they are very responsible and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I do get worried about them, and they worry about me because I'm over 65.
Yeah.
So how do I deal with, you know, not be so worried about them, or and how do I stay focused?
Yeah.
And
So
not
here's a
myself
simple,
out.
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so basically I'll ask you a question. Are worries a positive experience or a negative experience?
Oh, I know it is a negative experience.
Okay.
I know what I should be doing, but...
So what do you think you should be doing? Let's explore that.
I should be thinking they are very healthy, they are happy, I'm healthy, I'm happy, everything is perfect, everything is good.
Okay, so what's keeping you from doing that?
The reality of the situation, what's happening.
Well, actually, what's keeping you from doing that is the choice for you not to do that, right? Because we can't blame the situation for what we are doing. So I am responsible for my thoughts, I am responsible for my feelings, and I am responsible for my actions. I am in control of all these situations. I am in control of my inner self. So there's no one to blame for what I am experiencing. So ask yourself, will I give myself permission to live in faith that my children are perfectly where they need to be, and that they have everything they are requiring, they require in order for them to fulfill their own karma. Okay. So look at it from that perspective. That's just a thought. That's the beginning. So now it's up to you to create the kind of world that is supportive of yourself and supportive of them, letting go of the waste.
Okay.
Right?
So I give myself a permission.
Yeah, you're the only person who can actually change the situation. And in meditation, when you meditate, you're doing two things. You're connecting with yourself, but also you're connecting with divine. So from the divine, you will receive also power to be able to be in that state of faith.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so increasing the faith is another thing that you need to do. Faith in the self, faith in them, that they have everything and that they're powerful enough to deal with whatever's in front of them. I have this situation with my mother too. I constantly have to remind her, don't send negative vibrations, send beautiful vibrations to us. So, and it's a belief system. As a mother, I need to worry about my children, and that's cultural as well. So those are things that we can just let go of.
No,
right?
So yeah, I do say the prayers and I say the right things.
So now you need to experience them as
I need to
truth.
experience that. That is what I know what I should be doing, what kind of energy I should be sending, and I do that. I do the prayers, but then still somewhere in the back of my mind there is a little bit of that, so that I want to get rid of it. So
yeah, so here's something for you to contemplate. I am. So be in the being of it as opposed to the thinking of it or the praying of it. Prayer is very different from being it. So be in the being it, practice the being, I am. So whenever you are going into that space, keep saying, I am. What am I? I am trusting. I am faithful to myself and to my children. I trust that my children and I am taken care of, that we have all that we need, that we are all fulfilling our own special, unique karma. So we have to use our intellect, and we have to integrate the intellect with the knowledge in order to create the right environment. Remember, our internal world is creating the external world. So I am creating reality. I am creating a world. Keep that in mind.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? We'll go to the next thing now because there are some more.
Oh, I was hoping that you could help me with physical healing of my body.
Actually, this is perfect because this is a perfect transition to this part. So the next part is thoughts. And the fact is that most of us do not understand that thoughts actually produce chemicals in the body, right? So our thoughts are producing chemicals. So the quality of thoughts that we're producing is very important. So how much time are we spending with wasteful thoughts, worries, fear, distrust, blaming? How much space are we, spending in just necessary thoughts? So we're just going through the day, doing the common thing, whatever activities we need to do without elevating our thinking. How much time are we spending in negative space? Focusing on anger, rejection, criticism. All of these aspects are creating chemicals that then turn into physical illness. So that's the first question I would ask you. How much time are you spending on worrying about what is happening to you as opposed to elevating and creating beautiful chemicals that are actually going to help you heal? And also, because you know the integrated self, that there's something else outside of just the body, how are you using the force of your soul to energize your physical body and healing process?
Well, I would ask you what are useful intentions and ways of approaching severe physical pain?
Yeah, I actually was down for about 6 months where I had a number of problems with my knees and also wasn't able to stand up for about 6 months. And it was quite an interesting experience. But because of the practice, I was able to stabilize myself internally just by using the power of thoughts. So how am I creating the right inner environment using the power of the soul, of this intellect, to actually create positive energy in order for that positive energy to re-energize my cells, my molecules. So it's really about creating the right churning. So give me an example of your thinking. How is it that you go through your day in relationship to your situation?
Well, I'm, you know, it's kind of paradoxical because I'm probably doing both. You know, when the pain's the worst, you know, I have a judgment about it. It's kind of hard not to. But I'm also conditioning my thinking, you know, that I can heal, I am healing, you know, I'm feeling what it feels like to feel good and those kinds of things. But then, of course, the other thoughts surface, especially, it's hard not to have opinions and judgments about the pain also. So it's kind of a combination. But, you know, I have trained myself to be more vigilant over my thoughts so that I have awareness of when I'm having a negative thought and trying to skip the part where I judge myself for having the thought, but then to replace it with a more life-enhancing way of thinking.
Yeah, one of the other things that helped me intensely, and also helped my mother actually, because she was going through a very difficult time, is actually creating a relationship, the right relationship with your condition. So whatever your condition is, what relationship do you have? Is this a curse? Is this a blessing? Is this a learning? So what condition, what relationship are you creating with your situation is very important as well.
Yeah, definitely learning and definitely allowing blessings of, you know, there are you know, about 3 people who are helping me. So I'm very gratefully receiving help and, you know, trying not to look at all of the, you know, doing my best always not to look at all the negative aspects because there's a long list of, you know, but there are times when I feel completely disempowered, you know, and then it's quite difficult. But yeah, I mean, I'm also looking at the blessings and very small things. I'm always looking for blessings and gifts. As far as the blessings that are directly out of the situation, you know, surely taught me every day is a lesson in a great deal of patience and a great deal of, you know, doing my best to stay calm and
so it actually does is 2 things. It actually activates the energy of the soul to transmit the frequency of healing throughout your entire body. So as you are within yourself and you're focused within that I am the soul, what happens is that energy is actually keeps transmitting. It creates a different sensation and experience of pain, but it also increases the healing capacity. The molecules will change.
Sorry to interrupt.
May I talk? Can I talk?
Sure. We have
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, G. You know, listening to others, you know, a lot going through bodily things and family problems, it's not easy, but you were really good. Really good. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Oh, thank you so much. Om Shanti to you too. And thank you for
Hope you will
participating.
come again. I hope we will have more of you in the future.
Well, I think
it's practical living, you know, practical living is not easy, as said, you know.
Yes, yeah.
But the Brahma Kumaris have helped me to survive up to today from 1990.
Well, fantastic. Well,
Yes.
I'm happy to just call the center and let them know. And also, just to wrap this up, because I want to be conscientious of what's coming up in terms of the programming.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, do you think that you can share this presentation or we can access that presentation? You can send it to us or something like that?
Yeah, there's going to be a recording of it. So what you need to do is you need to be in contact with the center and they will actually make sure that a recording is sent to you or they give you the link to the recording.
The link to the recording. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you have
Can you-
also questions, I'm going to, I'm just going to close off with this. We pretty much covered.
Can you give us your contact, please? Can you give us your contact on the chat room, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Here's my contact. Okay, my name is Santi again, and so I'm going.
Are you able to say it, please?
Yes, easy soul bean, just one whole word at gmail.com. So easy soul bean at gmail.com.
Is it capital E or simple E?
No, it's just lower E.
Yeah, lower E. Easy
So
soul.
easy soul bean at gmail.com.
B double?
Bean, B-E-I-N-G. So let me spell it out. E-A